Here's the finding that actually shocked me. After 30 days and 100 identical tasks, the best AI doesn't exist, not even close. ChatGPT 138 tasks, Claude 134, Gemini 128. And in 11 of those tasks, the difference between first and last place was so small it barely mattered. If you've picked a side in the AI wars, you're about to see why that's costing you time, money, or both. Here's exactly what I did. I ran ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini through the same 100 tasks. No cherry picking. No reruns until I liked the answer. Same prompts. Same day. Same conditions. Scored against a fixed rubric before I ever saw which model would win. 30 days. 6 categories. 1 winner per category. And a final verdict at the end that might change which app is on your home screen. Quick channel context. Because it matters here. This channel is about AI tools and productivity for people who actually build things. Founders, freelancers, and knowledge workers who don't have time to fall for hype. I don't take sponsorships from the labs I review. And I paid for every subscription tier myself, so the results aren't skewed by whichever company sent me a free trial. That's the whole point of this channel. Real testing, not marketing copy. Every video here starts from the same question. Does this actually save you time? Or is it just impressive in a demo? Today's test cost me more hours than almost anything I've published. Because I refused to let a single lucky output decide a category. If a model won a task, it had to win it consistently across variations of that same prompt. Not just once. Here's the problem I kept running into before I built this test. Most people choose their AI assistant based on a viral tweet, a flashy demo, or whichever app their favorite creator happens to be sponsored by that week. Nobody's actually comparing these tools on the tasks that make up a normal workday. Writing an email, checking a fact before you publish it, fixing a bug at 11 at night, summarizing a 40-page contract. That gap between hype and actual performance is exactly where people waste hours every week using the wrong tool for the job. So I decided to close that gap myself, with data instead of vibes. Let me walk you through the methodology so you can trust the results. I built 100 tasks split evenly across 6 categories: writing, research and accuracy, coding, summarization, creative tasks, and reasoning and logic. Every task was scored on a 10-point rubric covering correctness, usefulness, and how much editing the output needed before it was actually usable. I ran each task on all 3 models within the same hour to avoid time of day quality drift. And I used the standard consumer tiers: ChatGPT Plus, Claude Pro, and Gemini Advanced. Because that's what most of you are actually paying for. Category 1. Writing. This is emails, blog posts, landing page copy, and long-form scripts. Claude was the standout here. And it wasn't close. Given the same brief, a product launch email with a specific tone, Claude's draft needed almost no editing, while ChatGPT's version was solid but generic. And Gemini's had the right structure but flattened the tone I asked for. Claude also handled longer pieces, like a 2,000-word blog draft, with better pacing and fewer repeated phrases. Across 17 writing tasks, Claude scored an average of 8.9 out of 10, versus 7.8 for ChatGPT and 7.1 for Gemini. The gap widened as task length increased. On anything under 100 words, all 3 were nearly indistinguishable. Winner: Claude. Especially for anything over 500 words. Category 2. Research and accuracy. This is where things got uncomfortable. I fact-checked every factual claim across all three models on questions with verifiable answers. Statistics. Dates. Recent events. Gemini had the lowest error rate at 6%. Largely because it pulls live web results by default. ChatGPT came in at 9%. Mostly stumbling on anything after its knowledge cutoff unless I explicitly triggered a search. Claude had the highest error rate at 13% on time-sensitive facts. Though it was the most honest about uncertainty. Often flagging when it wasn't sure rather than guessing. Winner. Gemini. Purely because of real-time search grounding. Category 3. Coding. 16 tasks here. From debugging broken functions to writing clean, documented code from scratch. Claude produced the cleanest code with the best inline comments and the fewest hallucinated library functions. ChatGPT was extremely close and actually won on debugging speed. It found the root cause of a tricky recursion bug faster than Claude did. And its explanations were easier to follow for someone who didn't write the original code. Gemini lagged here, occasionally suggesting deprecated methods. My take: Claude for writing new code. ChatGPT for debugging someone else's mess. Category 4. Summarisation. I fed each model the same 40-page PDF contract and a 90-minute meeting transcript. Claude's massive context window handled the entire document in one pass without losing details from page 30. And it correctly flagged 3 ambiguous clauses I'd planted in the contract on purpose. ChatGPT needed the document split into 2 chunks. And it missed one of those flagged clauses. Gemini handled the length fine but produced a summary that felt more surface level. Missing nuance in favor of brevity. Winner. Claude. Hands down. For anything involving long documents. Category 5. Creative tasks. Short stories. Ad concepts. Brand voice exercises. I had 3 separate reviewers blind score originality and tone matching. ChatGPT scored highest here. Mostly because of its range. It could shift from a playful Gen Z voice to a formal corporate tone convincingly within the same session. Claude's creative writing was more literary and often more polished, but less flexible in tone switching. Gemini's creative output was competent but the most predictable, tending to reach for the same metaphors repeatedly. Winner. ChatGPT. For tone variety and creative range. Category 6. Reasoning and logic. Multi-step word problems. Logic puzzles. And a few genuinely hard business case scenarios. This is where chain of thought quality really separated the 3. ChatGPT's O-series reasoning mode solved the most complex multi-step problems correctly, showing its work in a way that was easy to audit for errors. Claude was close behind and occasionally caught its own mistakes mid-reasoning, correcting course visibly. Gemini solved the majority correctly, but its reasoning traces were harder to follow, even when the final answer was right. Winner. ChatGPT. For complex reasoning chains. So here's the full scoreboard. Writing. Claude. Scoring 8.9 out of 10. Research and accuracy. Gemini. At 8.7. Coding. Claude at 8.6. With ChatGPT winning debugging specifically. Summarisation. Claude. Its strongest category at 9.1. Creative tasks. ChatGPT at 8.4. Reasoning and logic. ChatGPT at 8.8. Add it up and ChatGPT wins on breadth. It's the most versatile generalist. It has the widest plugin and app ecosystem. And it's the best choice if you only want to pay for one subscription. Claude wins on depth for long-form writing and document-heavy work. which makes it the obvious pick if your job involves contracts, reports, or serious writing. Gemini wins on real-time accuracy and Google Workspace integration, which matters enormously if you live inside Docs, Sheets, and Gmail all day. None of the three swept a single category outright without at least one close call. And that consistency across 100 tasks is what makes me trust this result more than any single viral screenshot comparing one prompt. My honest recommendation. And this is the take that's going to annoy purists on both sides. Don't pick one if you can justify it. Run ChatGPT for reasoning and creative work, Claude for anything long-form or document-based, and Gemini when you need current information or you're already inside the Google ecosystem. If you can only afford one, and most of you can, go with ChatGPT for the widest coverage. But know you're trading away Claude's writing quality and Gemini's real-time accuracy to get that breadth. There is no universal winner here. And honestly, that's the most useful thing I can tell you after 30 days of testing. If this saved you from guessing which AI to trust with your next project, subscribe. Because next Friday I'm testing whether AI coding assistants can actually replace a junior developer on a real 2-week project. Start to finish. You don't want to miss that one.